What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Game Moose episode 98.
Wow.
I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Turford, alongside the ghost with the most, Drew McMillan.
Hey, it's spook season.
Yeah, we're totally partying it up in here as if it's Game Moose episode 8 because it's just the two of us.
Yeah, we're rocking this as a duo.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've done this in God, what feels like a very long time. It was like
6 months ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Last time we did this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of going to do like a little bit, almost like a fireside chat today.
That's right. Just like Roosevelt used to do to the good people of America.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that explains.
Talk to you about the state of video games.
That explains your drink.
Here's the state. It's shit.
Whoa, that's harsh. So, of course, the Brock McLaughlin away this week. Yeah. On a mission. Yeah. So topic 1 of the show can just be Brock McLaughlin, fuckwad. Yeah. Because he just fucked off.
Fuck that guy. he's in Detroit or some shit. Yeah. Again, I don't know. The guy gets himself in the Windsor Star and he thinks he's like the biggest shit in the world.
Apparently. He's going to go see a concert tonight.
Yes, he is.
So that's the main reason.
Some band I've never heard of because...
You've never heard of them?
No.
Should we say who they are? I know who they are.
Who?
Brand New.
Brand New.
Is who he's going to go see.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I'm too old for this shit.
Oh, God. Yeah, so Brock will be back next week. Also, I wanted to put it out there. We talked about this last week, but it won't happen until next week, till Brock's back. We will be doing a sort of kind of pseudo review discussion about Shadow of War and when Brock comes back.
Yeah, we need all of us in the room for that one for sure. We've all played it at this point.
Yeah, and we'll speak about it.
Various amounts.
Yeah, but obviously, none of us have finished it yet, so we're gonna sort of wait till next week. So expect that next week.
Yeah, we got it on launch day like everybody else, like the rest of the plebes out there. So
yeah, and last bit of housekeeping before we jump into the show proper. Extra Life is coming up.
Yes,
November 4th and 5th.
Yeah.
You can find out the schedule, which will be posted tomorrow once I've finalized it. Over at game-moose.com/extralife, which you can also go over to donate as well, because we are raising money for children's hospitals here in Ontario.
That's right.
AKA Sick Kids through Sick Kids. And we'll be doing a 24-hour live stream where we play video games and do a podcast.
Yeah.
So it's going to be awesome.
We're going to play video games and tell dick jokes just like we always do. So.
Except we'll probably be more delirious than usual. So by the time hour 22 comes around, we're going to be crazy.
I think it's pretty safe to say that shit's going to come out of our mouths that has never been recorded. Yeah. At least.
I mean, it's all the Game Moose After Dark you could have ever wanted.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I know that Brock and I, especially once we get a little tired and we get a little saucy, shit gets pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So expect a weird time. It'll be normal to start, but it will get progressive.
It'll get progressively stranger.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. So that's coming up. So get hyped. Again, we'd love if you could donate for the cause as well. Even if you don't live in Canada, first of all, Sick Kids helps out. But if you want to donate in your local area, Extra Life has lots of other participants as well with sort of helping sort of local hospitals in your area as well. So check that out.
Also, we're part of, we're ancillarily working with the good people at Team Kind of Funny.
Yes.
We're part of Team Kind of Funny.
We are part of Team Kind of Funny, yes.
Because we like Greg Miller, and he's a good dude.
He's the homeboy.
Yeah.
He's one of the reasons I got into podcasting was Greg Miller.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure how that works, but also, we're part of a team, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, the team itself, one of the great things about Team Kind of Funny is the community's great.
Yeah.
Like, if you at home are actually looking to do Extra Life, I actually think that's one of the better teams to be involved in because, we usually always help each other out with streaming opportunities. I'm knocking my mic over. They're also, the guys over at Kind of Funny usually also have streaming opportunities as well for Extra Lifers as well. They'll usually help promote your stream as well. So it's always good to be partnered with Team Kind of Funny and the best friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because the best friends are the homies.
The best friends are awesome.
Like Sean Capri as well, because Sean Capri is also one of the best friends.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's get into the show. But this is going to be an old school episode where we're literally going to do all the old segments.
Yeah.
So, Drew, what have you been playing this week?
What have I been playing, Ryan Turford? Still been playing a lot of Breath of the Wild. Still getting through that game. The puzzles are they're fun brain teasers. I'm really enjoying them. Yeah. I really feel like it's interesting because it's like next level stuff with because it relies on physics and stuff like that. So stuff that they haven't really done in games in the past.
Yeah, or just a lot of other games in general.
But it still feels like an old school Zelda game. I don't know how to put my finger on it. It's quite interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact it goes every time there's I unveil some kind of secret.
But even like the progression of how you go through the Divine Beasts, which are basically the pseudo dungeons, or even the shrines, is very similar to the progression you find in original like other Zelda dungeons.
Yeah,
it's just you have to think about how you progress through them differently.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool because you have to think about how like conductivity works or how like water works and stuff like that.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah,
I ran out of arrows.
What?
Yeah, it was a rookie move.
Didn't
bring enough arrows.
You gotta go back. You gotta fly out and go get more arrows.
Yeah, I gotta get more arrows. Come back.
Did you actually run out of arrows in a Great Divine Beast?
Yes,
that's what because that happened to me too.
Yeah, and it sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, always make sure you have enough arrows, or it just means you just use your fucking bomb arrows.
Yeah.
If you have to.
Yep.
It's all good.
Yep.
So you've been playing that?
I've been playing that. And I've also been playing. I played a little bit of Shadow of War. I played through like the tutorial and
some dog.
Yeah.
What's in that game?
I'm having a hard time playing that game.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's something about it that rubs me the wrong way every time I pick it up. Like I want to avoid it, which is not good.
No, well, it's never a good feeling to have about it.
No, like I don't know, and it's something I can't quite put my finger on.
All right, let's take stock then before we go into this any further. Because I also want to talk about Shadow of War because I've played it for a lot. Did you, number one, play the first one? And if so, how much did you play it?
I did not play the first one at... Oh, no. I played the first one a tiny bit.
Okay, but
I didn't own it. I think I played it at a friend's place or something.
Okay, because this is before we started Game Moose. So I don't think we've ever talked about the original Shadow of War.
No.
Shadow of War. For me, it's one of those games like Assassin's Creed, like old Assassin's Creed games, I couldn't get into at all.
Right.
I basically played like the first 3 or 4 hours of the original and couldn't wrap my head around it because the movement was kind of janky, just like the original Assassin's Creed games were. Like you get stuck on objects and other things.
It owes itself, it's sort of its gameplay and its flavor a little bit to Assassin's Creed. It's got a lot of that peppered in it for sure.
If anything, this game, Shadow of War, more so than the first game.
Yeah.
Because the Shadow of War, one of the things I like about it is the small things I liked about Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Yeah.
Which fixed a lot of the Assassin's Creed problems that I had with that series.
Mm-hmm.
It still retains a lot of the movement problems from the first game, like the first Shadow of War. Shadow of Mordor. God, why do they have confusing names?
I don't know.
The first Shadow of game, I guess.
Yeah.
That's how I'll refer to it as. In the first game, you had sort of you'd get stuck on objects. In this game, you sort of get the same thing. In fact, I have this really funny video that I took of I'm trying to like stealth kill this enemy that's on top of a tower, and I'm like trying to get him in the sweet spot where it allows you to actually stealth kill him, which in turn I go to get in the sweet spot, but my character accidentally jumps over him and then onto like the wall that's in front, like the little like half wall that's in front of him, and then he's like stuck trying to like climb it.
Yeah.
So then what I do is, in order to kill the enemy because he notices me right away, is I do a backflip off the little like half wall, and then pause in midair because one of the abilities you get is the freeze frame ability in Zelda, where if you jump in the air, you can freeze time for a second. Yep. You get that in this game too. So I just freeze frame in the air and just headshot the dude from behind his head after I backflipped over him off this little tiny head.
He must have been very confused about that whole course of events. That's really weird.
He's like, why did he flip over my head just to jump off this other thing and get behind me just to headshot me again? Like in midair.
I'm sure it looked cool.
It was like the weirdest sequence of events ever.
All right.
But yeah, so there are little intricacies like that. But one of the games this also reminds me a lot of, after playing it a lot, is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to the base building and the orc followers. The problem with that is they make you really wait for it. Yeah. Like 15 hours into the game, you get to start dominating orcs. But for the first 15 hours, it's mostly a stealth game.
Interesting.
Which is kind of cool. Like I like the minute-to-minute combat in this game. I like skulking up on enemies and then taking them out silently. Eventually, you get abilities that allow your Wraith form to sort of allow you to stealth kill multiple enemies at once.
Right.
Similar to what you do in Metal Gear, which is kind of cool. So, like I like taking out enemies and sort of invading fortresses and stuff the same way that you did in Metal Gear Solid 5 when you explored that environment.
Yeah.
The problem is the open world isn't as big. It is a lot more confined than that game.
Yeah.
It's almost more like a mix between like the size of the Afghanistan map in that game, and like the size of the open worlds in Rise of the Tomb Raider. So like sort of it's like it's like a half step between like almost like a very small open world and a very large one.
Yeah.
But you can't. The nice thing is you like Zelda, you can kind of go anywhere that you see on that map.
Yeah.
So like if you see a wall, like even if it's a cave wall, you can usually climb it.
Yeah.
Like there's no real invisible walls or anything until you get like to like the edge of a cliff or something.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So those are the things I like about it and not like it. Again, I'm like 20 hours in so far. And then I looked at how long it takes to beat this game. I'm like, oh, I'm only a third of the way through this game. And I have every single one of the game's collectibles already. So that has to say something about
That's really strange.
Yeah. I have
really weird.
all the game's collectibles and I haven't even gotten to like the 5th area yet. Like I've gone there to get the collectibles and then left. I haven't done any quests there.
Okay. All right, Ryan. We got to talk about something right now.
All right.
This is a Middle Earth game.
Yep.
So it's set in the Middle Earth as made by J.R.R. Tolkien, but not specifically Lord of the Rings because they don't have the Lord of the Rings / the Hobbit license. They have the Middle Earth license.
Yep.
But it still apes the style from
the movies. And in fact, like Gollum, for example, is very similar to the way he is in the movie. Like even the voice actor is not Andy Serkis, but he sounds exactly like Andy Serkis.
But even at that, things like the Wraith plane, right?
Yeah.
Like looks exactly the same, and the Wraiths look the same and stuff.
Yeah. Even the Nazgul, like you see the Witch King at some point, and he looks the same.
Nice. Yeah. Also, this game takes some pretty serious creative liberties with the Middle Earth property.
It's meant to be almost like a what-if story and not a canonical story.
It is not a canonical story at all. If anything, it reads more like fan fiction.
Kind of is.
Essentially, so the whole thing is that you play as Talion, and if you're like, wait, Drew, who's Talion from Lord of the Rings? The answer is nobody.
He's a ranger of Gondor.
Someone they came up with for the game.
Yeah.
And his spirit is bound with the wraith form of Celebrimnor, who was the ancient elf who first created the Rings of Power.
Yep. With his boy Sauron.
Sauron tricked him into it.
Yeah, but you can see the crazy thing is you see Sauron outside of his crazy armor.
Yeah, you see Sauron in his human form he just looks basically like Saruman without a beard. So but of course, in the Middle Earth books, Celebrimnor is not he's not a wraith.
No.
He has no affiliation with any humans. He definitely doesn't forge a new ring of power like he does in this game.
No, he doesn't. A new ring of power that allows you to take over orcs' minds.
Yes.
Because that's what it does.
Yeah. So that's the sort of central narrative conceit of this game. This is why you have an army of big bad orcs and ogres and orcs.
Yeah, you might have wondered where they were in the Lord of the Rings like books or movies, and the answer is they weren't. Because it didn't actually happen.
Yes, none of this. So this is all kind of it's really weird because the first one was a little strange that they kind of went off in this tangent, and now they've just completely gone bonkers, like way out there.
Yeah.
In terms of like way far afield.
But in a way, I'm kind of glad if they were going to do that, they did it in this way.
Yeah.
Because if they tried to stick too much to the original lore, you would have had so many more questions. Well, how does this tie into this? Yeah. Whereas this, for the most part, it's kind of its own self-contained story.
Yeah, no,
it almost doesn't matter.
It very much is. As long as you go into it, don't try to reconcile this with like, well, where's where are the wizards and stuff? Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about giant eagles. Just forget about it.
Yeah,
just
stuff like
have
that's
fun.
in the game, but for the most part, it's just trying to be its own thing.
I guess what I'm trying to say is don't try to reconcile this with The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or the Silmarillion or any of the other books, because you're gonna have a really hard time. Your brain's gonna hurt,
especially like when you start interacting with Shelob, the spider. Yes. Who's actually a woman, apparently.
Shelob is a woman, yeah. She's the Spider Queen.
No, but she's like an actual human woman who then turns into a spider.
Well, she's an ancient evil. I mean...
It's weird.
I mean, strictly speaking, I guess that's possible. I don't know.
That's what I mean. It skirts a line there.
It certainly does. Yeah. And definitely seeing a Sauron as like a kind of a waifish...
talks, too.
Skinny man. Yeah. Well, he once upon a time he did. He's essentially... He's like, he has more in common with Gandalf than he does anyone else.
That's true.
Right? He's basically like an undying spirit, right? He's like a Valor or whatever.
He just talks a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
Later in the game.
He's very chatty.
Yeah. Very chatty. Him and the Witch King.
Yeah.
I never thought he was a chatty Cathy.
Yeah. No, they sit down and they have tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
And just chat it out. So, like I said, that's the weird part. It just feels like it's a work of fan fiction, but it's an official game, and that's really weird.
Yeah, I think for the most part, and this is sort of echoed across the board from a lot of other reviews I've read and people I've talked to from who've also played this game. Like, for the most part, the story is not the main reason to play this. The gameplay is sort of the main reason to play this.
So this
taking over orcs, taking over towers.
I kind of expected them after they did Shadow of Mordor. I really thought they were just going to take this and take like the whole Nemesis system and all that kind of stuff and just, spin it off into their own game, into their own IP, and not have to worry about paying licensing and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess there was too much of an appeal with the name.
It's also like the engine and the characters are already developed. Like it's a lot easier to do it from the position they left it in from the last game than to sort of to do something new from scratch with that.
Right.
So I kind of get that. It also is weird too, and a lot of people brought this up too. Like, why hasn't the Nemesis system been in any other game except this one?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's really weird. It's such a unique idea and such a great concept for a game. I'm surprised that more companies have aped this.
Or like technically WB already owns like the Nemesis TM system. Like, put this in a fucking Batman game.
Oh yeah. Well, we haven't seen what Rocksteady's doing or anyone else working on DC since Arkham Knight. So
yeah, I think this would be like a perfect match for a Batman game.
Yeah,
it'd be amazing.
Oh yeah.
Just
get some crazy thug who just screams at you like Neb the Screamer.
Yeah.
He's an actual orc that I ran into.
Very good.
And all he does is screams.
Yeah.
He lives up to the name. He's like, where other orcs would just try and talk to you while you've got like your swords clashing. He's like, rah, rah, like sort of where lines of dialogue would be.
There's one orc that like flirts with you.
There is one orc that flirts with you.
This is deeply confusing.
There's also a drunk orc who's like just drunk all the time.
Oh, why not?
Yeah, there's lots of different orcs in this game because let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to kill orcs, this is your game.
But there's also trolls and there's also urks and goblins, right? Like it's not just orcs.
Yeah, but for the most part, you pretty much just see orcs.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
There's also like wargs as well.
Yeah,
that you can ride. You can ride wargs. You can ride giant trolls. You can ride dragons in this.
Whoa, you can.
Oh, sorry, drakes.
Drakes.
There are drakes in this game. You can ride
yes,
them.
yeah, like definitely not dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Giant ogres. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm excited to sort of see how it finishes, but it's going to be a while, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a long game. But expect a review this week because I'm confident I can finish it before Wednesday.
Huzzah!
Which means that I can probably have the review like this week sometime.
Excellent.
So get hyped about that, and we'll talk about it more when Brock comes back next week because I know he's got some things to say about it too.
He does. He has very strong feelings about this game.
So that's pretty much it. That's all you played this week.
That is pretty. That's pretty much it.
Yes.
Yeah.
As for me, I played that. I also played Final Fantasy 14.
Of course, move on.
Yeah, I'm moving on. Jesus Christ. I'm trying to think of what else I played this week.
I played Destiny 2, but I didn't bring it up. Just saying.
You could. Well, see, there was a new patch this week.
There was a new patch. It really didn't change much for me.
There was a new patch for Final Fantasy, though.
I didn't.
There was a new raid.
I didn't. Oh, is the thing out? The
new raid
Iblis?
this week. Yeah. I haven't done it yet because
I've never even played this game and I know what the fucking raid is called because of you. That's your fault.
That's true, but I know.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you have me around here for, right? The Final Fantasy 14 expert. I also played Friday the 13th again this week because Friday the 13th had a double XP weekend this weekend. The Part 4 stuff is out, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of the stuff that was broken the last time I played it is now fixed.
But a lot of the servers crashed on Friday the 13th.
That is also true
because everyone was trying to play it.
Because everyone was trying to play this.
Team Kinda Funny was trying to play it.
Yeah.
And they had to cancel their live stream because they couldn't get on.
Yep.
So they had to play something else.
Yeah. I know Greg's playing today.
They played like PUBG or something. Yeah.
God. Cool. So let's move on now. We're going to do the news next, and then we have a topic of the week after.
It's just like we used to do the show.
It's exactly like we used to do it before. It's like I planned this. All right. So we only got a couple news stories because we're pretty much at that point of the year where most of the news is dying down, and it's very much game releases. So from now on the podcast, that's pretty much what we're going to talk about most of the time we're here, which is cool. because we got a lot of exciting games coming up that we're going to talk about.
Fuck yeah.
So, first news story, which is a great news story, especially if you live here in Canada. Studio MDHR has announced that Cuphead has sold 1 million copies in its first 2 weeks on the market.
Platinum motherfucker.
That's fucking fantastic.
That's great for them. What a huge fucking success. That's awesome. And it's only on one platform.
Yep.
It's
on PC too.
I guess. Well, it's on the Windows platform
because it's also on Steam.
Yeah.
So you can
it's on Steam as well.
It's on.
I thought it was only Windows 10 store.
No. It's actually on Steam as well. Just if you buy it on Xbox, you get the Windows 10 store version.
Right, the crossplay kind of thing that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not on PlayStation, so I think this is a huge fucking win for these guys.
It's a great move.
Yeah.
Especially for a 2D like boss rush game.
Yeah.
It's a very niche style game, especially with like it looks really cool, but I think that 30s aesthetic only appeals to a certain brand of people.
Yeah,
because
like me.
for me, I don't have nostalgia for that type of animation.
Oh.
I think it looks beautiful when I play it, but I don't really like. That's not the type of cartoons I look back on and get nostalgic about. Again, because I grew up more with anime or 80s style cartoons. So I mean that's the type of animation I sort of hits home with me.
All right.
Yeah,
You're crazy.
I'm
Okay.
weird. Yeah, but honestly, I'm so happy for those guys. I know they poured their heart into it, and again, great local story because they made it here in Toronto.
That's right.
As well. So it's great.
We should
great
reach out
game.
to those guys and like go interview them or something.
Yeah, we should do that.
We're going to call you.
Yep, we're willing to hunt people down. No, we're not going to do that.
What?
I just wanted to sound creepy because it's fun.
Yeah, we're going to we're gonna hunt the most dangerous prey, man.
Jesus. All right, next topic. Season pass time, Drew.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of season passes. We don't actually talk about DLC too much on the show because actually I noticed it when I'm starting to put together our pre-game of the year show stuff already. Yes, it's October, folks. I'm starting to plan stuff for that. Not a lot of DLC we've really talked about this year, but some of this stuff sounds cool. So we got some new DLC announcements from Ubisoft regarding South Park and AC Origins' season passes. So South Park's season pass, we'll go through it real quick. So there's 3 packs in all. The DLC pack 1 is called Danger Deck, which centers around a parody of the X-Men's Danger Room and adds new story and combat challenges to the game.
Okay.
Sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
DLC pack 2 is From Dusk Till Casa Bonita, which is basically a From Dusk Till Dawn parody that takes place in Casa Bonita, which is a location on South Park that they go to. It's like a restaurant or whatever.
Right.
It's like a Mexican restaurant, so of course
Of
it's
course
like
it is.
From Dusk to Dawn.
Yeah.
It also has vampires confirmed.
Apple pie pussy.
And last but not least,
What?
I just have to laugh because it's funny.
It's in the movie.
I am aware. I am aware.
When in From Dusk Till Dawn, when they first go to the whorehouse, the Mexican whorehouse, which is in the motion picture, the pimp or whatever that runs the whorehouse.
He does mention that.
He lists all
Cheech Marin, by the way.
Cheech Marin, yes, lists all the variety of quote unquote pussy they have at the whorehouse.
And that is one of them.
And I believe it's the last one he says. He says, we even got apple pie pussy. I don't know what that means, but they've got it.
Confirmed.
So, yeah. I really like apple pie.
Apple pie is kind of crazy.
What?
I don't eat a lot of dessert.
Well, neither do I, but I still like apple pie.
I haven't had apple pie in like 12 years.
Jesus.
All right, and last DLC pack, Bring the Crunch, which we don't really know anything about other than it adds a new superhero class and a bunch of new story to the game.
Well, I'm glad they're laying out as much as they can with their DLC plans. Because if you're expected to buy a fucking season's pass up front, you better give me some information.
It's a lot better than what they did last year because Ubisoft with The Division and Rainbow Six Siege, like they said, there would be a lot of content, but we didn't know what it was until after the game came out.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they sort of got ahead of both their big games this fall. I mean, I'm not including Just Dance because that's also a big game of theirs.
Well, yeah, but we don't.
I mean, it's going to be the best-selling game on Wii this year.
Just Dance?
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Because it's the only game coming out on Wii this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
I remember us like in the podcast years ago talking about The Division. We're like, if I don't know what the DLC plans are, why should I be expected to buy?
We learned our lesson from Destiny.
Yeah.
The Destiny expansion pass.
Yeah. I think the most egregious one was BioShock. Bioshock Infinite.
Oh, that's
where like
true,
the DLC took like a year and a half to come out.
Oh God,
And
yeah.
I think even like the big one, which was I think the one that most people were excited about ended up not being the one that was part of the fucking
Yeah.
the expansion pass. So yeah.
And there were some good expansion passes this year as well. Like the Neo one was really good for that game because it offered like basically a new expansion pack for that game like every other month, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Plus there was stuff bundled in with the game when you got it too, which is what we're sort of seeing more. Even the Zelda one does that too, where you get some exclusive items off the gate, and then it has like the sort of 2 expansions later, which we have no idea when the second one's coming out.
Yeah.
There's also an Assassin's Creed pack as well. So that one only has 2 packs, but it has some cool free DLC that's coming part of this. So DLC pack 1 is called The Hidden Ones. It's an epilogue to the game that takes place many years after the game is over. And basically you play as Bayek again, and he and the Brotherhood fend off a Roman force. The Romans are invading Egypt.
Very interesting. So that totally did happen.
Yeah. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Based off real events.
It's
kind of cool that
it's got that history.
Although I'm a little scared because the last time they did epilogue DLC as DLC was Prince of Persia, like the reboot Prince of Persia, where it had the game's real ending in it, and you were like, okay, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Why you got to pay for the real ending?
As long as they don't do what they did with Assassin's Creed 2, which was, they had Revelations, which was like kind of like the epilogue, and it was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a whole game.
It was somehow, yeah, that's true. And I mean, there's, we're going to talk about Shadow of War next week, but I have things to say that are in relation to this topic about that game.
Interesting.
Next up, DLC Pack 2, The Curse of the Pharaohs, is a what-if story that pits you against undead pharaohs, zombies, mummies, and other monsters based around Egyptian mythology. Which is kind of cool. So they have like the one like kind of realistic pack, and then they do the crazy ass pack. Kind of like what they did with Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Because with that game they had like this gang war one, which is like sort of based around like the gangs in London. And then the other one is like about Evie going back to London when she's an old woman as she has to track down Jack the Ripper. Which is kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
This reminds me a little bit of Red Dead.
Yeah, Undead Nightmare.
Undead Nightmare.
Yeah, the trailer for it looks really awesome. I'm actually excited to play that. And last but not least, there's free DLC coming. There's going to be a boss rush mode called Trials of the Gods.
That's interesting. Keep talking, Ryan. I gotta blow my schnaz.
It basically is available to all Assassin's Creed players after the launch of the game, as players do battle against Egyptian gods in a boss rush mode with timed special events. Again, all this stuff sounds pretty cool. There will also be DLC when the game comes out as sort of a free update for the game. We also know the discovery mode, which is sort of the educational mode, is coming as well, which is kind of cool. So Assassin's Creed and South Park have some pretty cool options if you're looking for more content for those games. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited to play those games because, first of all, I can't fucking believe South Park's even coming out, and it's a real game that exists, and it's out this week.
Jump Josephets.
Of all things.
Yeah.
And then I'm just excited to get back into Assassin's Creed after not having one for 2 years.
Yeah, I think what I was going to say, even before we jumped into this, is I think the reason why we haven't really talked about DLC a lot recently is because DLC recently has kind of sucked.
Yeah.
People are publishers and developers are looking at different ways to monetize games. This almost like it dovetails nicely into our topic of the week.
Yeah, where it's more microtransactions and less like big DLC things. Like it's much chunks. It's much more expansions this time around than smaller chunks of DLC.
It's easier to convince someone to spend like $2 or $3 or $5 here or there than like $30 every 4 months.
Yeah,
right. And of course, the inherent problem with those big things is like it's hard to stick to a schedule with that stuff, and a schedule becomes very important.
Yeah, as we noted about
Bioshock.
Yeah, exactly. Especially after everything we found out about Irrational after that DLC came out.
Things were very ugly there.
It kind of makes sense. Yeah, and. So last news story of this week before we get into the big topic. The previously announced BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, which is like their 2-on-2 fighting game, very similar to the new Marvel vs. Capcom, has now been confirmed for PS4, PC, and Nintendo Switch, which is really awesome because that's going to be like probably one of the best fighters on that system until Smash Brothers comes out.
Yeah.
So they also announced that some new characters, including Rachel and Hazuma from BlazBlue, Yusuke from Persona 4, as well as Whis from Ruby.
The fact that they got Yusuke in it is I'm
imagining like
I'm jazzed.
I'm imagining all the Persona characters, like main characters will be in it. Like Teddy will probably be a character because he's a character in. Because this is sort of a crossover with the Persona 4 fighting game.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't put Chie in there.
Yeah, Chie will be probably in this game too.
She's amazing.
Yeah, and all these characters look really. It looks like a really awesome like 2-on-2 arcade fighter. So it comes out sometime next year. We just don't know when yet.
That's really fun.
Yeah, so we're starting to build the list. There's 2 really awesome fighting games coming out next year with that and Dragon Ball Fighters, and then if Smash Brothers gets announced, like that's gonna be crazy.
I really hope Dragon Ball Fighters is balanced enough to like hit like the esports scene and like really have a nice long life because that'll be amazing.
I mean, from what I've seen from people like doing like the beta has already kind of become that already.
Awesome.
So just like when it comes out, I think it's going to be huge.
Okay.
And then we also have Dissidia, the Final Fantasy fighting game, coming out next year as well. I've played it because I've been the beta for it and I've really liked it too. So
cool.
Good year for fighting games. Plus, we know Bloodstain's coming out next year too.
That's right, Bloodstain. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever that comes out. All right, so let's jump into new releases this week. There's a lot of them because there's a lot of games coming out. So first off, South Park: The Fractured Butthole. We talked about that. Get hyped.
Yeah.
Life is Strange: Beyond the Storm Episode 2 is out this week.
Yeah.
Thank God, because it looks fucking awesome. I can't wait. Next up, the Jackbox Party Pack 4 out this week on all consoles.
Well, I got to look that up and see what games are in there because you know how I like my Jackbox.
The Jackbox Party Packs are Game Moose approved.
Yeah, they're some of like the best things that you can spend money on a console. If you ever have your friends over, like it's so awesome. So everyone just pulls out their phone and it's like it's a blast. I did that on my birthday last year and had so much fun.
Yeah, this is also coming to Switch too, so you can have it on the go with you,
cool.
Which would be pretty cool. Like break out a Jackbox session
nice.
Anywhere you are, basically.
Excellent.
Which is sweet. Next up, WWE 2K18. It was out on Friday this week if you bought the deluxe edition because they pulled the ultimate edition thing that Microsoft does.
Yep.
But it's out for everyone on Tuesday, including the Switch version, which didn't have like the pre-lead-in version, I guess. Gran Turismo Sport out this week. I'm very excited to play that because Gran Turismo, I've mentioned it before, is my favorite racing franchise.
I'm glad somebody is.
And I played the demo. That's what I played this week was the Gran Turismo demo.
The demo.
It was a lot of fun, actually.
I downloaded it. I totally forgot to open it.
It's actually more than a demo, too. It's the whole game as a free game trial, but it only was for those 4 days that you could play it for. But all your progress carries over. Like, there was a cap. You could only earn like $1 million in the game.
Right.
But all your progress carried over, which is kind of cool.
Just $1 million.
Yeah, just $1 million.
Damn.
How many cars do you think you can buy with that? Like 3, I guess.
Yeah. It depends what kind of cars you're buying.
Well, I think the most expensive car that I saw in like the game was like 400,000. Yeah.
So like a good Koenigsegg. Should
I
be
wasn't
pretty,
looking at like the F1 cars there because there's also F1 cars in that game too.
Well, those should be multiples of millions.
Yeah. Next off, Fire Emblem Warriors comes out this week.
Yes, it does.
That's the Musou with all the Fire Emblem characters.
Yeah. So if you really, really want to get all Dynasty Warriors with your,
I'm going to talk about that on the next show because I have that coming on Friday.
Okay.
So I'm excited to talk about that.
All right.
Next off, Chaos Child, which is the visual novel I talked about a few weeks ago. It looks fantastic. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and I'm excited to play it.
Is this just the translation, or is
we're finally getting an English translated version.
So this isn't day and date, like it's been out in Japan.
No, it's been out in Japan
for
a couple years, and it's finally making its way here.
It's cool that visual novels are getting a bigger push here now.
Yeah,
presumably because of Danganronpa.
Yeah, exactly. Because like it's based around in the same universe as Steins Gate. Those games have done really well here.
You love Steins Gate.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Awesome.
And so yeah, I'm excited to play this.
Cool.
Next up, Hex Card Clash comes to PS4 for reals this time.
Like
I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but it got delayed after the show recorded.
And nobody cares.
Yeah. Well, it's a card game.
Yeah.
Card games are fun.
Yeah.
It's this game's a lot like Magic the Gathering.
I remember you telling me about that, yeah.
Yeah. And last but not least, this is a Japanese release, but if you are a keen Nintendo Switch owner, you can go buy this now. Lost Sphere is out in Japan this week, which is the new game from the I Am Setsuna developers.
Yes.
It looks awesome. It does not have an English translation, though, so you'll have to wait until January 23rd if you want the English version of the game. But I'm excited to play that game. I can't wait till next year.
So if you speak Japanese or are very, very patient, you can download it now, start playing it now.
Yeah.
Maybe get
I mean, it's one of those games you won't be able to get the story, but maybe you'll be able to play through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people are crazy enough to do it. I know people are already importing it.
I have a friend who is, he speaks fluent Japanese and is a Japanese translator, and guaranteed he's playing this game right now.
Yeah, I'm also like again, I'm still contemplating buying the second Densetsu collection. That's in Japanese because I'm starting to lose hope that it'll ever come out here.
Well, specifically 3, right? That's the big one.
Yeah, but it should come out here.
This is the game. Like It's had an amazing fan dub for years.
Yeah.
It's about time that somebody. Like,
It's that other game besides Mother 3 that should come out here already.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Get your shit together, Nintendo.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Or it's, well, in this case, it's Square Enix.
Oh, it's Square Enix?
But Mother 3 is technically Nintendo.
Nintendo, yeah. Because it's Ape.
Yep.
Which is Nintendo.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
Moving on.
So moving on, we now have topic of the week, Drew.
The topic of the week.
See, we haven't done that in a while.
No.
It's been so long since we had a topic of the week because usually we don't do it that way anymore.
Yeah.
So, big topic of this week has been a big topic in many gaming circles across many podcasts, but we feel like
everyone's talking about it.
Everyone's talking about it. We haven't really had, like, we've talked about this topic here and there.
Yeah.
We've never really sat down and talked about it. And this week we got like a ruling from the ESRB where I feel like we really should talk about it.
Well, the big thing was that the big revelation is that the thing we're talking about here is loot boxes.
Yep. In case you've been living under a rock.
Loot boxes and microtransactions.
Yep.
And they represent, was it something like 40% of the video game business now, or like,
yep. Something 40%, very similar to that.
Like 40% growth in the video game business.
I mean,
you know, which is already a multi-billion-dollar business. To give you an idea what kind of numbers we're talking about here.
Blizzard Activision posted earlier this week that they made $3.5 billion in microtransactions last year.
That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
Right.
Across all games, because that includes
Dota 2.
No, that's Valve.
Oh, that's Valve. Sorry.
No, it includes
Tears of the Storm,
Overwatch, World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as Call of Duty.
Does Diablo 3 have loot boxes?
No, in fact, other than Rise of the Necromancer, the expansion pack, I don't think it has microtransactions.
Okay.
Yeah, which is one nice thing about that game.
Yeah, but definitely Heroes of the Storm for sure.
Or even World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Most infamous. The one game that's really nailed me on microtransactions.
Yeah, I would really like to know what Valve's numbers are. Valve, who famously don't share numbers for Dota and CS:GO.
Yeah, or even Riot with League of Legends.
Yeah,
like those skins, man. People really want those skins. They got to pay for them. So we're going to talk about that. Of course, the ESRB ruling I mentioned earlier was that. So this week, the main reason we're sort of talking about this as a topic is the ESRB ruled that. Microtransactions or specifically loot boxes are not considered gambling.
No.
The way that they sort of equate loot boxes to sort of working is the idea of opening a pack of cards.
Yeah.
So like if you buy, let's say, a pack of Magic the Gathering cards,
yes,
that's not considered gambling even though the cards are considered random.
Right.
So a loot box kind of works the same way where you're paying for an object that isn't physical, that doesn't really have like physical value at all.
It also has an indeterminate content.
Yeah.
And the contents itself don't have intrinsic value.
Right.
That's the important word here. Intrinsic value. If I told you that I was selling a card game, let's say,
like Hex,
like Hex, but we'll call it I don't know. Fart Stopper. Like the game's called Fart Stopper.
Get hyped.
Yeah, it's a really great. It's a fantasy card game. Everyone's really looking for a new one of those.
All the cards are just Pot of Greed.
Yeah, except it's a really great game and everybody loves it. But here's the deal: in 1 in every 30 packs, there is a gold card, and the card is made of physical gold.
Yeah.
Right. That's intrinsic value.
Because gold is actually physically worth something.
Gold has a value. Or like if I told you that there was like a $10 bill randomly slipped inside every 5 packs, right? Yeah. That's gambling because the thing that's coming out of it has intrinsic value, not interpreted value, which is what the cards have. Interpreted value is just like what the value that it has on like a resale market.
Yeah.
Right? Magic cards or the contents of a loot box or whatever don't have any intrinsic value. That's the difference from a legal perspective.
There's not like a papersmith you go bring them to and they melt them down into paper or whatever.
Like paper.
You get money for
it.
it.
Paper itself doesn't have a high intrinsic value.
Let alone digital goods. Like you can't even physically sell those.
Yeah, digital goods literally have none whatsoever. I mean, they have no intrinsic value. They on paper cannot.
Yeah, because essentially they're just data.
They're ones and zeros.
Yeah.
If anything, they represent a liability. They take up space.
Right? Yeah, that's true too.
From that perspective. So, so that's why they say it's not gambling. Mm-hmm. However, unpopular opinion.
Okay.
It's motherfucking gambling.
Yeah. That's not an unpopular opinion. I think you're on the popular side of
Yeah.
this.
We talked about this way back when we talked about Destiny 1.
Yeah, we talked about this a long time ago.
Yeah, which is, Danny O'Dwyer, God bless him, did an amazing episode of The Point before he left GameSpot. And it was called Destiny 1, the Hardcore Player's Slot Machine, in which he talks about how they hired like psychiatrists and like analysts and marketing analysts and stuff, people whose jobs it is to basically figure out what triggers the pleasure centers of your brain.
Yeah.
The
person who's watching this video.
The video game players out there.
Yeah.
They wanted to know what sort of lights up parts of your brain in involuntary ways. Emphasis on involuntary. So things like, sounds and colors, when you win at a slot machine, they always make this, like, they make like certain,
Like
they make music,
noises.
but those tones, the tones that they play are very carefully studied by people to actually, like, they hook up people's brains to, like, EEGs and like look at what parts of or like they do fMRIs and look at like what parts of your brain actually light up the pleasure centers and stuff.
Kind of like colors as well, because like there's a reason why McDonald's is colored a certain color on the outside and a certain color on the inside.
Absolutely. Or there's a reason why there tends to be common colors for rewarding items in video games.
Yeah.
You guys will notice that purple is really popular in terms of like that.
That's how you know it's rare.
Color. That's right. But there's a reason why, and that like purple has a certain key into our brains, especially because, like, I don't know if this has any value, but going back to like the blue coloring for years was the most expensive, right? And to the point where like purple was very difficult to manufacture.
Right.
And during, like, for example, Roman times, it was forbidden for anyone else to wear purple. It was only for the Senate and the emperor, and that was it.
Because I guess it was so hard to make.
Because it was so hard to make, and it had such prestige associated with it, and so it still has some of that cultural weight, and so our brains still value it a little bit. There's a bunch of other things too, flashing lights, again, and all those combinations of things, hitting things that the good people at Doritos refer to as the bliss point. Is that
an official term?
Yes, the Doritos uses the term the bliss point. The bliss point for Doritos is the exact right combination of fat, sugar, and salt.
Okay.
As well as texture and a few other things, so that it causes a release of dopamine in your brain.
Okay.
Right, which is the same kind of reaction that when you open a loot box and you're like, oh, I got a rare or a legendary or got an exotic or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
Right. You literally get a rush of the good feeling drug in your noodle called dopamine. It makes you feel good, right? And then your body chases that, right? Because that's it. Like, that reward system is how your body trains itself to get good behaviors, right? When you eat something sugary, going back to like when we were like monkey people in running around and all we were doing was like hunting and gathering, right? If you found, stumbled across a tree and it had like really like sugary fruit, when you ate it, right, it would cause a release of dopamine in your brain, and that was your brain's way of telling you what just happened was really good. We should do that again.
Yeah.
So then, like, you're more likely to remember the location of that tree and go back there more often and recognize the color of the fruit as being rewarding and all that kind of stuff. So it's not gambling, but it does all the things that gambling does.
Right.
Right, it leverages all of the things that that gambling, like casinos and other organizations and lottery organizations and stuff have done for years, to try to coerce you into obtaining this or to buying into their product.
I mean, you got to buy 100 loot boxes.
Absolutely.
You need to know what's in all of them.
100%.
And it feels good. You had to buy 100 more.
Yeah,
Which is crazy.
It sucks. I really don't like it because it's playing people against themselves, right? Or against, like, there are people that literally have to struggle with it, and most importantly, it's pointed at kids,
right?
Right. I mean, the biggest audience for this stuff are kids, and these are the people with the least with the poorest judgment and the least amount of impulse control.
Yeah,
Right.
And it's the same thing you see on mobile phones too. Especially, it targets kids even more. With mobile phones,
they're
too.
much more aggressive on mobile phones with things like Clash of Clans and that kind of stuff, where they use microtransactions to do the exact same sorts of things that we're talking about, right? Also, one of the things we're talking about is if the positive isn't working, there's also the negative, right? Which is, again, mobile phones do this a little bit more, and that is that it exploits our anxiety, our need, and our sense of completion.
Right.
Like if we get to a point and it's not done, like we talked about, like the whole notion of like an unfinished sentence, right? And the tension that comes with hanging there, that plays a real emotional toll on you.
Kind of like when you finish a game and then you find out the real ending, you got to pay for it because
That's right.
You're feeling empty inside.
Yeah, well, like it's that same that like just in general, human beings, we expect a certain, like, there's input, reaction, output, right? If we don't get that chain of events, we're very unsatisfied, right? Like emotionally, it is actually, again, it has the opposite reaction in our bodies. That's when you have those kind of situations where there's that kind of tension that's hanging over you, your body actually releases a different chemical, which is called I've forgotten the name of it. It's the stress chemical.
Yeah,
it's
the opposite of dopamine.
The opposite of dopamine, the thing that makes you feel tense, that tenses up your muscles. It makes you feel anxious. And so they're riding these things, right? They know exactly what they're doing. They're exploiting kids for profit. Period. And adults. I mean,
like, again,
we've done it. Like, I bought into microtransactions. I bought loot boxes. You bought loot boxes.
I've actually never purchased loot boxes specifically, but I've paid for microtransactions in games before.
Yeah, I definitely have to.
The only game I've actually paid microtransactions for, World of Warcraft.
Ah, yes.
Because, again, if you want that pet or that mount, or if you want to play on the server same server as your friend, you got to pay for it.
Yeah,
that's how they get you.
I've done it with some mobile games. Well, I've done it with one specific mobile game. I won't tell you which one because it's really embarrassing.
Is it Kim Kardashian?
No, it's not Kim Kardashian.
If only.
Yeah, I wish. I bought the silver.
Right.
For Destiny 2.
Yeah, Destiny. Oh, for Destiny 2 specifically? So you bought silver in that game?
Yeah, not for Destiny 1, actually. I refused to do it for Destiny 1.
Yeah.
I was morbidly curious, if anything, for Destiny 2. So, yeah. Remember when I said I bought silver so you didn't have to?
Yeah, now you know.
Yeah, you really don't have to. At this point, I bought silver once and haven't since then, and do not feel compelled to at all.
See, for me, I don't. The thing is, and why I haven't purchased loot boxes is because I haven't felt compelled to. I felt like every experience I've had with loot boxes or randomized elements like loot boxes, I've always felt like the progression hasn't really been taken away from me that I wouldn't normally feel if the loot boxes didn't exist.
Right.
So the progression in Overwatch, for example, which is a very heavy loot box game. Again, the loot boxes in that game don't affect your progression. They're only sort of cosmetic changes.
That's right.
And I've never felt compelled to go buy those because the game itself rewards you with in-game currency to then buy the skins at your own pace.
Yeah.
Like the loot boxes are just there if you want stuff faster.
Yeah.
But for me, I've never felt the need to do that. But I understand why some people do, because it's the whole thing that you talked about, where you don't want to leave things unfinished. Or you might have less time with the game, and maybe you want to go faster with some stuff.
Yeah.
Like Shadow of War as well, which has been one of the big sort of topics, has been their loot box system.
Yep.
And how like people felt that it would affect the game in a negative way. But as someone who's played the game for pretty close to 30 hours, that has not happened yet.
That's good.
Like at all. Like you get, you even get loot boxes in game for doing online vendettas. So if, like, for example, Drew, if you played and died, I could go to your world and murder the orc that killed you, and it would give us both loot boxes essentially, which is kind of cool. But for the most part, again, if I didn't get those loot boxes or do those online vendettas, the game's progression itself, I feel, is at the pace of a normal open world's progressive system.
Yeah.
So something like Horizon's progression is probably very similar to Shadow of War's. So I don't feel the need to do that. Like, I don't feel like they're sort of cooking the books and making it so like when you really run into trouble is when they affect the game's progression if you're not paying.
Yes.
Because then it's a feel bad. It makes you feel bad that you're not getting as fast, like the Forza stuff.
Yeah.
When that came out with the loot box, Sean Capri alluded to it last week when he was talking about Forza specifically about the perks.
Yeah.
Because you don't progress as quickly, but like there's no reason to take driver assists off, for example, because you're not progressing the way you normally would expect to in that game.
So, you know, it's the same sort of thing, right? Like, if the pace of the game is directly affected by whether or not you're purchasing something, and by pace I mean just the fact that it's defying its own expectations that it establishes early in the game. So if you start a game and like the level curve is rectilinear, right? Like it's going up like this, right? If you know, like it gets steeper and steeper the higher you get. So the longer the period between levels increases, the longer you the closer you get to max level.
Right.
If that curve all of a sudden becomes radically altered to being much steeper,
like if it takes 8 million years to go between one level and another,
right? Based on whether or not you've paid money, like your brain's not going to like that.
No.
Right. So, yeah, I mean that's shitty. We haven't seen as much of that, especially with like big games. I think they know that they have to walk a line because people get really pissed off.
Again, you only really see that on mobile, I think. Like that type of
that kind of egregious one.
Yeah, especially when energy comes in, which is how many moves you have.
You got to get that coin doubler, man.
God.
Another big one we can talk about right now is Battlefront 2.
Yep, Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 2 is pretty guilty of this. It looks like there's stuff like you just can't do stuff unless you get it. You get certain things out of random loot boxes.
Because if you put $50 like up when the game comes out, from the way the loot boxes were in the beta, you could conceivably have like an unmatched advantage over your opponents with the way the start cards are actually designed in that game. Basically, like you get the way they redesigned star cards from the first game. Essentially, is you use star cards to basically upgrade your stats.
Yeah.
So like upgrading your firepower, upgrading your defense, upgrading your shields, things like that. And there's different rarities of each card that affect the level at which that progression goes up, which you can buy in loot boxes, but it's totally random how you get them. So let's say you couldn't just say, I want to be the best sniper, so I want to target all the sniper start cards. But if you spend $100, you could just get all the ship ones. And you're like, well, this doesn't help me at all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like EA issued a statement the other day, like basically when the Battlefront beta ended, where they specifically mentioned, look, we understand this is a thing. This was an earlier version of the star card system. It's not the final version. So when the final game comes out, it will look much different.
And I'm very curious to know what that's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's disappointing so far.
For sure. And again, Forza or NBA 2K18 were the same way, where you had, in order to progress at a normal rate, you had to pay basically to do it.
Yeah.
Like NBA, like Kotaku did a really excellent article where they calculated it would take you over 450 hours to get to the progression level that $20 got you.
Right. That's obscene.
Yeah.
No one should have to play a game that long, that sort of repetitively. Again, input, right, action, output, right. You play the game, you expect within a reasonable amount of time that you're going to achieve a certain level, So that's not cool.
Or at least get like a certain level of progress. Because again, from playing games for years, you're sort of used to a certain level of progression in certain types of games.
Yeah.
And when you mess with that and you put that behind a paywall, that's when it becomes a problem.
But even that, like games internally set their own pace and set their own.
That's true.
Set their own sort of like logical throughput in terms of like what you should expect how you should expect to be rewarded with levels based on what actions you take in the game.
Yeah.
And where games get really nasty is where they establish that. So they get you into a rhythm of like input, reaction, reward. And then they pull the rug out from underneath you, and halfway through, all of a sudden they say, well, to get the reward part, now you got to pay us money.
Of course.
That's really shitty.
Yeah.
And again, big publishers haven't really done this yet.
Right.
People have come really close.
Like I think we're still in the experimental phase of how this is all going to shake out. And it could just be that.
I think we're going to be forever in the experimental phase at this point, I think.
Right.
But I think like they're constantly going to be tweaking things to see how much money they can get out of us.
Right.
Like loot boxes are the popular thing right now. 5 years from now, we might be like, hey, remember loot boxes? That was ridiculous.
Or even like,
I can't believe
as early as next year, because there's been so much backlash against loot boxes this year that maybe they might have to, like publishers might have to try something else next year.
Yeah, it was like I can't believe we lived in a world where we didn't have wristbands. I don't know. Like
or even, do you remember season passes?
Yeah.
Like not season pass DLC, but you had to buy the game in order to get an online pass to play online.
That's right. Yeah, online. The
online pass, not season
online
pass.
or multiplayer pass. Yeah.
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 Like shit's crazy like that.
Yeah, that really didn't go well.
No.
And who was it? EA was doing all that stuff?
Well, it wasn't just EA. Like PlayStation and Microsoft proper did it too.
Yeah.
Like for example, Gears of War 2. If you bought a used copy you couldn't play online.
Yeah.
That's how it worked. You had to redeem a code. And sometimes you'd buy a new copy from the store, like at EB, for example, and the code wouldn't work, and then you couldn't play online anyways.
Yeah,
like it was a total.
Yeah, there was really sketchy stuff where like people were pulling the codes out of the boxes before they sold them, or people figure it out. Like people crack the codes, and then we're just There's all kinds of fucked up stuff that happened there.
And this also kind of harkens back to something we talked about a long time ago when we did our big discussion about used games, like a long time ago, because the idea is the games themselves are cheaper than they've ever been now.
Yeah.
Game prices have not gone up in like 12 years. Well, in Canada they have.
Yeah.
But in the United States they haven't. Where the games have been $60 forever.
Yeah.
But the cost of making games is basically double what it was back then.
Yeah, we've talked about this too, like the cost of making games, it's not just about how big your team is or how complicated the technology is, how many hours you spend on it, those sorts of things. The other side of it is that publishing costs are way lower.
Right.
Publishing digitally is arguably a lot cheaper than publishing physical stuff.
Yeah, because you don't have physical overhead and copies.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff.
and then publishing cartridges to discs, like the difference between a disc and a cartridge, like a CD-ROM, a DVD-ROM, or a Blu-ray, those are dirt cheap compared to making a cartridge.
Yeah, because if most people are wondering why Chrono Trigger cost $100 American when it came out, which is the equivalent to $150 today, it's because there was a special cartridge in there for the music. Not a cartridge, sorry, a special microchip for the music, a special chip for the saving, and like the memory,
it was
a whole bunch of stuff.
The RAM was the big one, or rather
the carts had internal physical parts that raised the price.
Yeah, the rewritable memory inside that, because there's a whole thing where there was a shortage of those chips, and that was a thing, and that like Final Fantasy and a few others, like basically the bigger the game, the more expensive it was, and that kind of stuff. We haven't seen that in years because everything's on discs or digital download,
right?
And that does make a big deal, because I mean, think about it this way: difference between physical and digital in terms of like overhead. One, you have manufacturing costs.
Yeah.
Right. You may or may not. You have to very carefully judge how many items you manufacture, because if you manufacture too many, that's a loss. Right. Digital doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to worry about manufacturing costs.
You just got to generate codes.
Yeah. You don't even have to worry about like making too many, because you just give as many copies as people request. There is storage and logistics. Physical copies have storage and logistics. You got to keep them in warehouses. You got to deliver them places. Yeah. You do have storage and logistics on the digital side, but it's a lot more cost effective. Right. You've got a great big digital, server rack somewhere, and if you're partnered with Microsoft or Sony or Steam or whatever, then in which case you're sharing that cost.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm now suddenly picturing what Game Moose would like if we were all sent out like cassettes to people of the show, but instead of having a digital warehouse through Amazon.
That would be absurd. That would cost a lot of money. And then of course, so like then you've got on the physical side, you've got to actually ship things in trucks to stores. You have all of the overhead of the stores. The overhead of the store of a digital store is really low, because you don't have to pay an employee in every region, in every city, in every state in the United States, and every province in Canada.
You might have to pay a small advertising fee with Sony or Microsoft if you want to be on like the front page and have the splash.
And then they have to pay, like they have like a team of like technicians, but like that's really small compared to the overhead and the cost of running an entire nation or international retail chain like EB Games or GameStop
or paying for Walmart for shelf space.
Yep.
Which is totally a thing.
It's 100%
like
a thing.
Things that are on the top shelf are the things that pay more.
Those are the merchandising deals that they make, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to have you have to have a merchandiser who comes in and make sure that things are placed prominently, put in the right spot, and make sure that the displays go up. But like all that stuff, like we're now we're done talking about the overhead for digital because there isn't any more. There's so many more costs for physical.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe this is a problem that goes away eventually when there isn't physical games anymore, or they're just all like limited run games, like through limited run where they're just there's only so many copies.
But as it is, the cost of publishing games has only gotten cheaper. The cost of developing games has gotten more expensive.
Right.
That's where it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Especially like the big AAA titles, games that were like Anthem or Mass Effect or
even just the server costs for those games have got to be gigantic.
They're massive. Anything that Blizzard does.
Oh God, I can't even imagine like the server costs for World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Destiny 2, the development costs for these games are insane, and yes, way higher. It'd be really interesting to see if someone actually did like a detailed analysis to see where we're at. And you know what? I'm wagering a guess at the fact that the industry hasn't really changed their price. I mean, again, we talked about the price is higher here, and I had a chance to talk to one of the bigwigs from WB Games where we talked about. He's like, well, the reality is that like we would, we have to.
Yeah.
It's like we to stay competitive for us to make money. He's like margins are razor thin. He's like, in order for us to make money per unit, we have to raise it based on what the exchange rate is.
Which makes sense to us.
I said to him, I said, like, we understand. We all think it sucks. You got to realize that, like, you raise the cost of your games by $20. I don't get paid more money because of that. Just because the exchange rate has changed doesn't mean I suddenly get paid more money. Right?
It'd be nice if he did.
Yeah, like all our cost of living goes up, and that means that I have to start making choices, right?
Yeah, it just means that you have like 1 or 2 games less a year you can buy.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the reality of it. In fact, for some people, that it's even farther down than that.
Like if you tell me that I gotta choose between that expensive bottle of scotch that I just bought and whether or not I'm gonna buy another video game this year, I need my scotch, man.
It's one of those things. The dopamine tells you it's good.
100% it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I don't get my Lefroy Quartercast, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You're just gonna be a sad panda.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't? Do you?
Yeah.
No. The real question is, and before we sort of wrap this up, that I sort of have, is something, an idea that has been brought up on a lot of different other shows I listen to. Is the idea of, well, what if game prices went up by $10 or $20? And there were no microtransactions, and that's how they regulated the price. Would that be a preferable system, or doing microtransactions? Because the whole reason they're doing microtransactions is to sort of make up for that gap.
Yeah.
The margins that we spoke about. Like if games just cost $10 more, and that was sort of the buyout rate essentially for having no microtransactions, you got everything in the game.
Yeah.
Would that be a better option, or like whatever the season pass price is included with the game, like if that was the surcharge?
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, the reality is that the games industry has been doing this kind of thing for years, for probably longer than you guys realize or remember. You remember hint lines?
Yes. How can you forget?
Yeah.
Nintendo Power wanted you to call them.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that like every major
we should
video game
explain
company,
hit lines because we know about them because we're old.
Essentially, you had like a 1-900 number. This was pre-internet, so if you got stuck in a video game, you could call them and they would tell you what to do. They would walk you through it for as much time as you needed because you were paying by the minute.
Right.
Yeah. That was just it.
Like the Nintendo Power Hotline.
Yeah.
You got to call up Nintendo and find out how to beat Castlevania 2 instead of knowing to kneel down in front of a mountain for 15 seconds while your flute's equipped so a tornado picks you up and carries you across the mountain.
Exactly. Yeah. So
God, that's so good.
Yeah. Like there's all kinds of shit that went on back in the day. The video game companies have always been trying to figure out ways to get more of your money.
Right.
Another big one was hint books.
Yep. Or even Prima guides, which are still a big thing.
Yeah, Prima guides are still a big thing, but I remember I remember playing Sierra games back in the day, and just like Castlevania 2.
Yeah.
They're just like some solutions to the problems that were just absurdly difficult to understand.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was impossible. And then they started selling these hint books where like you bought it and it would tell you what you needed to do. And it was funny, to make it impossible to photocopy, you had to like use a highlighter on them or something. Or use like a special little like red thing to see. And again, this was all pre-internet. I think they realized at some point, like, hey, wait a minute, if we just make the puzzles, or at least one or two of them, impossible, like just impossible for a person to figure out,
You got to get the guidebook.
then we'll sell those guidebooks, or we'll sell time on our hint line or whatever.
Why do you think that when you pre-ordered your copy of some really difficult game at EB Games, the guy at the counter really pushed the guidebook on you and then called you an idiot when you didn't buy it?
That's right.
That's a true story. That happened to me multiple times.
Yeah, or like, I mean, fucking, GameSpot owns Game Informer, and they push that magazine hard. Like, shit's, they're. The point is, everybody is trying to get a little bit of your money, and it's your job as a consumer to know, number one, that they're trying to do it. Number two, they're using every trick in the book.
Yeah.
Like they're everything that they can possibly do, they're trying to leverage against you.
Yeah.
And number three, as a consequence, just be very careful.
Yeah. Or just know your limits and
play within it.
Be a responsible adult.
Just like the OLG says.
Yeah.
Know your limit, play within it.
Yeah.
Which is my personal life motto too.
Is it though?
No, I don't know my limits, and nor do I play within them. The thing where it gets shitty is, and we say this, like, okay, well, adults, you're an adult now. You have a responsibility to take care of yourself, to watch your finances, to be a responsible adult, to not like let your baby die while you're raiding in World of Warcraft, or spend all of your money on like EverQuest or whatever. But people still do that shit.
People still do that.
And again, the place where it gets really shitty is kids. Kids don't have like a 14-year-old kid doesn't have the same judgment as a, well, to be fair, I know some 14-year-old kids
and a lot
have
of it
better
is
judgment
just
than
that
adults, but
they don't understand the concept of money.
No,
So they just look at it as like fun, like, oh, this is no consequence if I spend $900 in Kim Kardashian's video game.
Yeah, and they haven't been around long enough to understand what the ramifications and consequences of those things are.
Yeah, that's not their fault. That's just being kids.
Yeah, nobody looks down on kids for that. The reality is that we should be doing everything to make sure that like protect those kids' innocence, and it sucks that. So that's what we're doing. So kids, I'll tell you what. If you're wondering if you should get that loot box or that microtransaction, just at me on Twitter. Just be like, hey Drew, is this a good decision? And I'll help you make the call.
Yeah. Or even
I'm there for you.
Yeah.
But like that's part of our job is we just try to inform people as much as we can.
Yeah.
If we play a game and we're like, this is really shitty, like this is not fun because the loot boxes are garbage, and they're really, really trying to push you into spending money on it, and it's making it a not enjoyable process, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
We'll do our best.
Yeah, I mean that's one of our biggest policies when we review anything on the site. Again, I'm going to talk about I'm going to mention the loot boxes in my review from Shadow of Mordor. Shadow of War.
Yeah.
Fucking name.
Yeah, I don't
it's so
like
confusing.
that.
But
I don't like the title.
But I mean, for me, again, I'm telling you right now to your face, if you're watching the video, as you hear the fire trucks go by, is that it honestly didn't affect it for me.
Yeah.
So far, about halfway through the game, I can safely say it doesn't affect me. But will that change at the end? If it does, I'll let you know.
Absolutely.
Because that's how we roll.
We're here for you.
Yep.
We care about you, the audience.
Yes. So if you have any crazy loot box stories, send an email to gamemoosecast@gmail.com. Please don't do that.
At me on Twitter. No, I'd love to hear some.
No, we just want to hear. We just want to hear questions.
Yeah, anything.
It's like we have a big show coming up in 2 weeks.
We do.
Yeah.
The more we talk about stuff, the better off we will be.
Yeah, exactly. You can also hit us up on Twitter at game_moose_cast.
Absolutely.
Facebook at facebook.com/GameMoosePodcast. On the gram, just search for Game Moose.
Yeah.
Unplug the gram in a while.
Yeah.
We haven't posted
stuff there in a while. Maybe I'll do that more.
Oh God.
That's on me.
I'm terrible with photos because I just never go outside.
Yeah. Well, you take pictures of video games. Anyway.
So this is gonna wrap up our podcast.
Yeah. I'm at D McMillan on Twitter, by the way, for wondering who do I at with my loot box stories.
That's true. Do you have any plugs this week, Drew?
Or just the website. Go to the website. It's www.game-moose.com.
Aha, you knew I was going to ask what the website was.
Yeah.
As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. That's TURFORD. You can also find Brock McLaughlin on Twitter at Brock McLaughlin, or McLaughlin, as he likes to say himself when he's describing how to spell his last name as well.
McLaughlin.
You can also watch videos of this podcast and other videos over at game-moose.com/video as well. And as well, we do have Extra Life coming up, so game-moose.com/extra-life.
Extra-life.
Extra-life?
Yes.
So go check that out as well.
The website did that by default, apparently.
Because it's crazy.
Yeah.
Again, we have a donation page there as well, so check that out. We'll be back in a few weeks about that.
Absolutely.
Again, I keep hinting at episode 100 because I've got some things that we're going to do stuff.
What a milestone.
Yeah.
We're almost there.
We're going to be talking about a topic. This is a tease for the episode. We're going to talk about a topic we talked about on episode 10.
Wow.
We're going to revisit it. It's like I planned it that way.
Yeah,
we did episode 10.
That was our first live episode.
It was our first live episode that broke.
Yeah, we nosedived that one hard.
We also talked about a very specific topic that will be that show, which will be great.
Cool.
That's pretty much it. So again, look for my Shadow of War video this week. So for Drew McMillan, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 98 of the Game Moose podcast, and we're out.